This team is very experienced, dynamic, mature in their knowledge, in their career, and in their space. And collaboration is what excites me most about working with people. And I find that the team is deep in knowledge. The level of expertise they have in EVs, with their background at Tesla, their experience in auto is complementary to my background in finance as well as in auto. And I just feel like I'm working with peers that care a whole lot about people. And that's where I thrive most, and where my focus is working from the outside in, not so much accomplishing a selfish agenda, but I believe in the mission of just evangelizing things that matter. When I hear the stories about I wasn't able to drive myself to get to cancer treatments, or people that are, so dependent upon, or maybe not have the ability with the technology today to be able to drive and to be able to have both sides of the equation, have logical solutions on a finance side and to have meaningful solutions for people to be able to experience EVs. I believe in what we're doing. And when I was working with the team and meeting them and the intelligence they bring to the table, but most importantly, the heart, well, that's where I love it. People, when you think about any Walmart you walk into, or any airport you walk into, or park, all the things that we face, we're all facing different things, not successes and challenges. And when I think about the mission of the story we're telling, to keep cars moving, to keep families moving, being able to take, I'm such an economic guy. When I look at things, I tend to think through not just the heart of the matter, but numbers. And finances, more than anything, have a direct impact to people's lives today. And so as a result, when you're telling those stories of how it keeps people ability to go to doctor's appointments, take care of family, to maybe even eliminate, something that hits near and dear to my heart is I have dear friends that they're moving out of town to lower their cost of living because they can buy more house as their family grows, but their hours are 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Driving back and forth is a extreme amount of stress for either the mom or the dad. I have a friend that their dad, the husband is going back and forth an hour and a half each way. And those hours can fluctuate from 2 to 10. And the next morning he could be, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you think about just the fact that he doesn't have to drive that, and you can eliminate that risk. Stories like that of the humanity of what it is. And then on top of that, we're probably, even myself, again, being the newest to the team on EVs, of saying, okay, but what about the big stuff, right? We all got insurance for big stuff, right? Whether it's healthcare, something happens, I'm not worried about cold and flu. I'm worried about, the big stuff that could happen. If you could eliminate that, and that's what XCare does, telling that story and the various ways that these cars can impact people's lives, just in economics and trustability, with the protection, with the people behind it, it's a very easy story to tell. Everything. The adoption, obviously, look at the manufacturers, look at Audi. Audi's almost replaced some of their legacy models that have discontinued and lead heavily as a car brand into EV. So I think that we're still at the infancy of what EV technology is being adopted, as every manufacturer that you may be a fan of or a patron of, maybe you leaned into hybrid. And the reason why you leaned into hybrid was you realized, based on your lifestyle, that gas mileage was more important than style. I remember friends, when they first got the Prius, that I was shocked that they got the Prius based on styling. And then when they showed me the room in it, the functionality in their lifestyle, the functionality of saying, what do you get per mile per gallon? I'm getting 55 miles per gallon. And now when I look at the entire landscape of all the manufacturers getting into it, there's a stress to not knowing, is there coverage? What do I do for my Ford Mach-E? What do I do for my Lightning after the manufacturer's warranty? I love it, but do I have to get rid of it to mitigate that liability, to mitigate that risk of cost of ownership? And so we cover everything. And so we're going to be continuing into 25 into 26, evangelizing what we can do for all brands besides just Tesla. I think that the way that XCare can change is you're addressing probably the biggest reason that people do not think that they can transition to an EV is, well, I keep cars a long time. I keep a car typically, I'm not trading out of my vehicle every 2 or 3 years. I actually keep cars. And we actually are seeing that across the country in everything. People are keeping their car. And if they're buying new cars, one of the feedbacks, I talk to auto dealers across the country a lot. And one of the things that they say is, we're not seeing as many trades on new car purchases. I don't care if it's a traditional gas vehicle. People are keeping it legacy to give it to their children, keeping it. Why? Because used car prices have escalated over the past years quite a bit. And so now the thought process toward EVs is, I don't think I have that optionality to keep this car for a long time. And I think that XCare, when they realize that it opens up the optionality if they don't like a certain styling, be it a Tesla or be it another manufacturer that they want to get, or they're attracted to the ID Buzz, Volkswagen bringing in that van, and for their lifestyle, they really need a van that they have. I really like that. And now I know I can keep that vehicle longer because of the coverage takes me way beyond the manufacturer warranty. If a person has experience with personal lease, they typically do it over and over and over again. Due to the fact that they're leasing it to lower their payment, they can mitigate the fact that I don't want to deal with negative equity, and as a result of that, I like updating my car. But the way that I think that our story is still very fresh in people's minds that they don't know is that if you're a small business owner, if you're a corporation, if you're an LLC, that if you're leasing a vehicle personally, if you're financing a vehicle through retail finance personally, you're completely leaving everything on the table of why commercial finance or leasing exists. And there's two pathways. There's commercial finance through a retail model, meaning that at the end of the financing term, title's transferred to you, you own the vehicle. You can keep it. You could move it into maybe a economic gain through a Turo model, yourself from generating cash from it, much like an Airbnb, but utilizing the car asset and doing it again. Or you can move into a lease format where you're expensing those payments. And a lot of business owners, the number one thing that they face is, as a business owner, especially if you have a good year, I need write-offs. I need something to as we've done very well, but I need something to impact my personal liability in terms of my income tax rate. And there is a pathway for retail finance through things that the federal tax advantages that you can take advantage through bonus depreciation, through MACRS, where you can schedule out how you can allocate that depreciation over time through various different depreciation models that you can count toward your income tax. And on a leasing, every lease payment counts toward 100% is tax deductible. And at the end of your lease, on a commercial lease, you candidly want that payment to be higher than on a personal lease. Why? Because you're looking for write-offs. The entire objective of commercial finance or lease is write-offs. That's why you do it. And so if you have an exposure of what the vehicle is worth. So one of the drawbacks is concern is what if the vehicle value drops in resale value? We've all seen it with Tesla over the last year or 2 years. These vehicle values with Tesla have dropped as it relates to just Elon changing pricing, as it relates to his retail pricing on the front end, which have dropped used car values. And as a result of that, I'm concerned about that. But again, as a business owner, if you have an LLC, a sole proprietorship, or you have a company, you actually want a high payment. You actually don't mind the depreciation, because even that depreciation or that deficiency balance from payoff to car value, that's 100% write-off. And so as a result, this could be the difference in terms of you're either going to pay the IRS, or you're going to have an opportunity to get a benefit through an asset that you can actually keep. So I think there's a big discrepancy in understanding what that is. If you're a business owner, you should be commercial financing or commercial leasing. Two things. It's TCO, total cost of ownership. And if you think about just a typical gas vehicle, which we all have experience with, right? You work through a couple things. You work through your gas bill, and then you work through just general maintenance. your manufactured checkpoints where you get to take it in, and then every time you take it in, we all know that there's always something to fix, right? Think about oil changes, transmission flush, brake maintenance. I mean, that's a list of economic outside in addition to your car payment. Gas engines depreciate as well. Does anybody have negative equity in the United States right now? A lot of people, especially post-COVID. COVID, you were paying MSRP plus. And now when people are, it's 2025, 26, maybe it's been 5 or 6 years since you've owned that vehicle. Now you want to trade it in and you're being visited with, you have $5, $10, $15, $20,000 in negative equity. And you're looking like, well, I'm going to have to come out of pocket to cover the negative equity and buy that next vehicle, right? When you take that same equation, yes, EV is an asset. It's going to depreciate like anything else. It's not art. It's not appreciating, right? It is depreciating. But as it relates to that depreciation now is a tax write-off. You can actually put that to work for you as opposed to just taking it. And that's the entire point of a commercial lease, is that as a business owner, going back to that, like I said, TCO, you've completely eliminated gas costs, brake changes, fluid changes. I mean, your exposure that people say is, well, yeah, what about range? I have friends that, their battery died and they were left destitute, and I just can't take that risk. You really have to take a look at technology. We probably have bad stories about the initial phones, the initial PlayStation, the initial Xbox, the ring of death, all these different things that have happened in generations, be it from your television in your home or computers or laptop. We've all had things that we had bad experiences and good experiences, but you have to take a look at why now are you more confident in buying TVs? Why more are you more confident in buying your iPhone? Because it lasts, right? Technology's evolved in EVs as well, and you're eliminating all of the total cost of ownership costs, and you bolt on the tax write-offs. Now, again, if you don't own a business, really, you probably should lease personally. But if you own a business, or if you're a corporation, and you actually have a staff, where you have a fleet of vehicles, I mean, how much does your fleet management costs run you? When you talk about gas, vehicles being down, vehicles being gassed up in the morning, if they're, your vans, your trucks that are going out there in the marketplace and coming back at the end of the day to a yard, how much downtime are they having stopping by Quick Trip to get gas? And if your route, whatever they're doing, is within hundreds of miles a day, check out the range of these vehicles that are 300-400 miles in a given day. You probably don't drive that much. And so as a result of that, there's just so much optionality that, candidly, this whole environment's been politicized. And for me, it's about two things: TCO, total cost of ownership, and the tax write-offs. Very easy, very simple equation.